Even though the deadline is 11 weeks away, it's not early, not too early to talk trades. We'll discuss that, the future for Steven Kwan, 2016 memories, and Jeff's favorite time of year, the Ohio Cup.
Tanner Bibee of the Guardians, and you're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Who is your pick, your prediction for MVP of the Ohio Cup? Let us know right now. Ohio Cup.
Will Benson.
Day. Your series, your favorite trophy covered every day here on Locked On Guardians. This is Locked On Guardians, your only daily Cleveland Guardians podcast that covers the team from the majors, the minors, the draft, everything between. That's Jeff Ellis, host of the show for 8 years. I'm Justin Lada, host of the show for 4 years with Jeff. We've both been covering the minor leagues for this team in the draft for 19 years. So it is a mailbag episode of Locked On Guardians. We'll get into some of your questions about two early trade targets, Steven Kwan's future, the playoffs. We're also going to talk 2016 memories because it is reunion weekend for that team, and we'll take a look at the series ahead for the Ohio Cup. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can bet just $5. Get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Jeff, let's jump right in. Let's open the mailbag up, and let's start with the question we kind of talked about yesterday. John O., who is this year's Rookie of the Year for Cleveland? Not overall, but just Rookie of the Year. Now, Jeff, I went and I looked at some of the data this morning, prepping for just in general, not knowing this question was going to be coming, but did you know Parker Messick has the second best Fangraphs WAR of all rookies right now, not just pitchers or hitters, both. He's only trails Kevin McGonigal by 0.3. And Chase DeLauter leads all rookies in WRC plus more than Kevin McGonigal at 147. Now, of course, Chase DeLauter doesn't have the same defensive value as McGonigal because McGonigal is playing short, and Chase DeLauter DHs a lot. So that does get in the way a little bit. So I guess the question is then, is it Parker Messick? Is it Chase DeLauter? Who's been more valuable to you? Jeff has no response because he
it's DeLauter because he plays every day. I appreciate Messick. He's been fantastic, but it's the limited availability of starting pitching. You know, it's kind of the nature of the beast. That's why they don't win these awards typically unless there's just a dearth of other candidates. DeLauter's out there every day in the thick of it, and to me that ends up being more valuable, even if in the days he pitches, the bigger impact is with Messick. I think it's still DeLauter.
Guardians are 7-2 in Parker Messick starts this year. He's had really one start, which was kind of rough. That was the Athletics one where he gave up 4 runs. I know DeLauter has helped transform this lineup, but Parker Messick's been incredibly consistent, especially given that Gavin Williams and Tanner Bibee and Slade, well, those two have been good and bad. Slade Cecconi's mostly been bad. Joey Cantillo's been fine. Parker Messick, I think, is a big reason why this team's in first place. So I'll say Parker Messick. I'll disagree. Let's jump into trade targets, Jeff. We've got trade questions here. I'm excited for that. Carl L. wants to know, if the trade deadline was right now, what areas of positions would the Guardians look to improve via trades? If I'm being honest, I still think it's got to be an outfielder. I still think you need a left fielder or a center fielder in trade because you can move Daniel Sheeman wherever. And Martinez can still play around. And I think there's a possibility a reliever is still going to be a need too. Like as of right now, Hunter Gaddis is working himself back into form. I would like another lefty because Tim Herron's just so inconsistent too. So I think an outfielder and a reliever is kind of where I'm at.
See, I'm focused on reliever. I think outfielder is going to kind of work its way out, and especially because you never find center fielders anywhere. Like that's harder to find than a catcher right now. So you're kind of stuck there. We know this team is going to be slavishly devoted to Kwan no matter how he performs. So Kwan's going to play one spot every day. Chase is going to play the other spot every day, barring health, knock on wood, all that stuff. But your other spot, Angel, Schneemann, you've got guys who can rotate through and, having some of that flexibility. So I'm just focused on relief help. It's like you're looking Could look over at the Mets. They've got a setup man named Tobias Myers who could help this team. I'm kidding. But
let's see. Can they trade Ralphie Velasquez to get
I mean, Myers is a
Myers?
guy whose FIP is about almost a run higher than his ERA. But he doesn't walk anyone and he misses some bats. So I mean, there's worse things than having a reliever doesn't walk anyone. But that's the problem.
Robert Arias is the deal then.
Yeah, I looking like in all actuality, it's like the teams that are bad. It's like the Angels are terrible, but they have a GM and a manager on the hot seat. They're not trading anything. The Astros pen was pretty shaky to begin with. The Rockies, I mean, give me Jimmy Herget. Like, go make that trade. I was calling for all offseason.
Jimmy Herget is your Cal Steven, or I guess I was obsessed with Nico Horner this offseason.
I mean, I was also Rami Gonzalez and Alex Call were my triumvirate of chasing, but. Yeah, I got to look and see how Herget's been, but there's just not a lot of great relief options. And when I kind of look at just these teams overall and what this team needs, they do need I think it's important to have more of an eighth inning guy so you can bring Sobrowski into more of that Cade Smith, move around, get the important inning. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Eric Sobrowski, by the way, I'm glad you brought that up. He leads all relievers in strikeouts this year. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I mean, he's a little bit wild. His walk rate's up there too, but I believe in him quite a bit. It doesn't surprise me. He's been phenomenal. Just for your Jimmy Herget report, he does have an ERA over 5, but he has a FIP of 3.5 and a BABIP of 3.48. So I'm still all in on Jimmy Herget. In spite of that ERA, he's been worth 0.3 wins. So still has some value there. But I'm
sorry, Mason Miller is ahead of him by 5. I'm sorry, it's Mason Miller, Aaron Ashby, and then Eric Sobrowski. Cade Smith is in the top 10 for all of his rough starts.
Struggles.
Anyway. Yeah.
Maybe you could reacquire Ty Freeman, who has a negative WAR. I'm kidding. Not kidding about the negative WAR. But it's just hard to find that match. It's like, the teams that are currently bomb, if you're not paying attention, you got the Blue Jays and Red Sox, the Marlins and Mets, the Royals and Tigers, the Pirates and the Reds, who are both over 500, the Astros and the Angels, and the Giants and the Rockies. I'm like, could there have been someone they got from the Giants when they made that trade? Maybe they could have expanded that out a bit. But I do feel like if they could get a real eighth inning guy, that would be my target.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, I don't want to bring a rookie up, but there are guys that are in the minors you could bring up as relievers, but it's hard to put one of those guys and say that they're going to be an eighth inning guy like you were talking about. And we talked off air too, like the Astros are way out of it. Is Zach Paredes or Christian Walker going to be available? They wanted to make him available this offseason. If the Rhys Hoskins thing doesn't work, how
much salary would they be willing to eat? Because we got to be honest, with Walker making $20 million the next 2 years, that's what it all comes down to.
This offseason they wanted to eat salary just to get rid of him, and nobody bit, which is crazy.
But we don't know how much salary. That's the whole thing. They're willing to eat, but that's always. I'm like, when a trade like that doesn't happen, especially when a guy had a fantastic second half, I'm like, I don't think they're willing to eat that much.
Yeah. Speaking of trades, we got more trade talk. Do you think that the team is leading the division August 1st? They require help or go with what they have? When this team has been in first place, they have always made trades to help the team out. Now, they didn't make a trade last year because it was a weird season. They were pretty much really out of it, and they didn't trade away anybody. They didn't really acquire anything.
Yeah. And they got the gut punch right before the deadline. The obvious answer is here. They won't make a trade because by August 1st, the deadline is passed.
No, it's August 3rd this year.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they had pushed it back. So that's my fault.
Yeah, it's August 3rd this year because they don't like to do it on weekends. They have to do it on, I think it's a Tuesday.
Okay.
It's a Monday. So they have it on Monday when there's not a whole lot of games.
They'll be aggressive. I do think they'll make a trade. I think there's some guys that kind of circled that I think are prospects that they are willing to consider flipping because they maybe don't fit their style.
Yeah, I mean, 2022 they didn't make a trade. They won the division, but they had broken 17 rookies that year, so that was a little bit difficult. And they did say this year they wanted to go with the kids, and there are more guys they can call up as reinforcements, but I still think there's room on the roster for them to go outside and, like I said, if you can grab an outfielder or reliever, I still think that's possible.
Do you know who the Houston Astros best fifth reliever is?
Gosh, I couldn't even tell you.
Eniel De Los Santos. So that might tell you where
There's
the
your
Astros
answer.
are. Old friend alert.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of teams are going to be buying, same stories as most. So it'll be an interesting deadline as always.
We got some Steven Kwan questions, and we've got a couple of other division questions ahead, including October. We also got to get to some 2016 memories at the end of the show and preview the upcoming series this weekend. That should be a good one coming up next. NBA playoffs, they are heating up. The Cavs, they're coming home to the chance to close out the series tonight. If you're looking to get even closer to the action, FanDuel is a great way to get you started. If you're a new customer, you can bet just $5 and get $100 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So all you have to do is to turn $5 into $150 is to get your first bet out there and get it right. As for the Cavs, they are favored by 3.5 on Friday night. So take that as a sign, I guess. They haven't lost at home this season, but they also had one on the road until this week. Guards favored by 1.5. The over-under is 8. It's Andrew Abbott and Tanner Bibee. So we'll see. That'll be very interesting. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game.
If you've ever opened your bank account and thought, where'd all my money go? You're not alone. Keeping track of subscriptions, spending, and bills can get overwhelming fast. And that's where Rocket Money comes in, helping you take control of your finances all in one place. So one of the nice things is tracking subscriptions all in one spot. I know right now I am subscribed to the Disney Plus bundle. I have the ESPN bundle. I am currently doing Kindle Reader for a month because it's cheaper than buying the 2 books I'm going to read in this month. There's so many things. If you're not paying attention, you forget to cancel. Those things all mount up and you end up spending and wasting so much money. It's going to help you set a budget, set alerts, and stay on top of upcoming bills. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel those unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Again, they're going to help you out. Head to rocketmoney.com/lockedon.
Appreciate everybody taking the time out of their day to make Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts. If you want to ask a question in their mailbag episodes, you can join the Everydayer Club to do that. It also gets you ad-free episodes of the show and your favorite audio platforms, and you get access to our private group chat with us, other listeners of the show, other Locked On hosts of all the other teams and their fans as well. That is lockedonguardians.supercast.com, link in the show notes, or you can sign up at joinsubtext.com/lockedonguardians to be an insider, which is something different, but you can ask questions there. And both groups get to do the insider group chats that we do once a month. We'll do that on Sunday on Google Hangouts or Google Chat, whatever it is. So you can be part of that as well. All right, let's get back to the mailbag. We want to get into some Steven Kwan stuff. We had a couple Kwan questions we want to group together here. So Alex K is asking if Steven Kwan's decline has made it so he's untradeable. And do you think Jordan M said, do you think that the Guardians will move Kwan at the deadline or the offseason? I don't think Kwan is tradable right now. I got to be honest with you. And I don't think Kwan's a non-tender candidate in the offseason either. Obviously, there's still a lot of season to go. We'll see what happens. But again, this is going to be a case of the Guardians just letting the contract play out, like we said at this point. Like I don't see any other pathway. Like, do you think I'm not sure what's more of a possibility, Jeff, if they would non-tender Kwan in his final ARB year, or if they could trade him, because I don't think he's worth anything right now.
I think non-tender is the more likely one, because he could still end up winning a Golden Glove and having the defensive awards make that go up. I mean, he's making, he would be set probably in arbitration, even with the down offensive year, if he wins another piece of hardware, to be over 10 million. And then I think they would non-tender him. One of fans' favorite things to do is talk about how, Antonetti said that, there's a lot of people around this league who love Kwan and they had a lot of attractive offers, but they chose to keep him. I don't believe all of that, because here's the thing. You know what? He does have a lot of fans around the league. That's true. But they're not going to be like, they have never been like, well, you know what? We just didn't get the offer we liked, so we held on to this guy. The offers were poor. So we decided to keep, they're never going to make that statement. And I said then, and I'll say it now, last year, he probably nets a little bit more than what they paid for Lane Thomas, because this isn't a secret. The whole league knows he plays good for half the year, struggles in the second half. He's a slap hitting singles guy. teams trade for power, they trade for impact. Steven Kwan is not an impact player. He's a guy who helps you a little bit, but he was never going to net those big pieces. And right now he's not netting you anything at all.
And I still see them having a chance to be, like you said, a Gold Glove outfielder. And I don't know if Khalil Watson and Petey Halpin are ready for every day at bat. So it's like, we don't even know when the offseason will really begin anyway. Like, we might be seeing trades in like February based on however the offseason negotiations go for the labor. But
there's not going to be a season on time next year. Let's just be honest.
No, it's definitely not happening in March or April. I was thinking May at best. But I don't know if they're going to go into next season, whenever that starts, with guys like Khalil Watson or Petey Halpin playing everyday roles. Like, I don't know if either of them are capable of that, to be honest. Next year is still, I think, a year where you have to win.
If he plays like this the whole year, though, you know what? You're better off going into next year with Daniel Schneemann in center, because Schneemann is going to give you more offensively and gives you in center field more defensively as well. He's, in center field, Schneemann is their best defensive center fielder. They've said that. It could be a different case now that Halpin's up, but it's that situation where it's kind of easy to move on from in that regard. Like, even if Watson isn't ready, and I think Halpin's just a backup, I think Watson has a chance to start, but you've got guys who can fill in the gaps, and then you can take your gambles and roll. And then if that doesn't work out, you just, you keep moving guys around and trying to figure out what works.
Yeah. By the way, if you're looking at outs above average, Daniel Schneemann +1 in center field. Steven Kwan is +2, so it's negligible, but it's there. The Kwan is still slightly more valuable in center field. All right, 2 more questions before we get to some other stuff here. Matt M, Jeff, we were talking about the bullpen before. What do you think an October bullpen would look like? I don't know all the options that are available. I know Jeff wants Jimmy Herget to be part of the October bullpen. I think Andrew Walters is part of that for sure. I would love it if Daniel Espino is part of that bullpen. I think best case scenario he is, but I don't think we can predict that right now. It's very hard to say with any certainty that's going to happen, because we don't know how the schedule is going to go. And he was kind of rough in his first time going. He finished the 5th inning, sat down, came back out for the 6th, and he didn't have any control when he came out for the 6th inning. So, like, still taking baby steps in terms of what that relief role is going to look like for him. So I can't sit here and say, Espino, definitely an October bullpen guy. I hope that's the case. I wouldn't mind Slade Ciccone out in the bullpen in October. They'd have to do it before with him. Armstrong is still here. Holderman, Sobrowski. You hope the best version of Hunter Gaddis is still there. I guess Alamon. Like, I'm looking at the minor league starters too, and I'm like, who really makes sense to put in the bullpen?
I think it's a lot like it is now. I got to be honest.
Alamon
has. No, I just think it's a lot like it is now. I think Alamon has his ups and downs, and the relievers are not like Cade Smith. They're not guys who typically come up and stay. I think they'll go with their vets. Like, that's what they've had, the guys they've relied on. And let's be real honest, this team will make trades on the margins, but they're not going to give up big pieces to go actually get a back end guy. Like, they'll more likely get someone who has interesting stuff. Plus,
so they're not going to do an Andrew Miller.
No, they haven't done an Andrew Miller since Andrew Miller, and they haven't even approached it. So I think
you should be in Cleveland this weekend. So maybe they can ask him if he wants to retirement.
But just looking at it, it's like I kind of feel like there's a chance Festa will still be there. I feel like Walters may or may not be part of it. Like, I just kind of feel like they love to kind of try to manipulate and move around without actually losing anyone. So I feel like the pen that is now has, maybe it ends up being Festa out and Walters in, but I feel like where it is what it's going to be. Like, that they're going to kind of stick close to where it is.
Yeah, that's fair.
I bet Holderman goes down one more time before the year's done. I'm willing to bet
Probably. And our last question before we get into some other stuff, John F., our everydayer and insider and one of our top commenters, any trade targets for the Guardians could acquire for Arias Naylor, because he doesn't think there's a path back for either of them.
I think Arias absolutely has a path back. So
who do you send down though when he comes back?
because then he's your infielder, so you actually have a backup who can play good infield defense, and then Schneemann is a full-time outfielder, and it also gives you a little more balance between your right-handed and left-handed bench that way with Arias. Andy was playing well before he went down.
How often is he going to play though? That's the thing.
I mean, he can play third base on the days that Jose, like he'll play it, like they're going to have a role for him here. They've liked him enough to hold on to him. And we talked about there's elite traits. They're not going to ship off elite traits that were playing well before he got hurt. They're not going to just punt the ball because a guy got hurt. Like that's it. He has the best bat speed on the team. He's arguably the best defender on the team outside of Bailey. Like they're going to keep him, find roles and spots for him, kind of what they talked about in the offseason, maybe a multitude of roles, but they're going to hold on to him. He is definitely coming back when he is here. I don't see, especially because you're not going to get anything. Like, okay, so you're going to trade a guy after he comes back from injury. It's like you're trading him at a low point. They never trade at low points because he hasn't had enough time to prove himself.
They're going to with Bo Naylor. Trust me.
It's because I think there's a chance they hold on to Bo to the spring. I know it seems unlikely, but it's like you sometimes get more value in the offseason. Like this team does not feel, they don't care about your timelines. They don't feel the need to move on from guys. They like to have some positivity, but they're not going to be forced into any trades. We've seen that time and time again with them, that they will hold on and hold on and hold on. Like Naylor, you're maybe getting a lotto ticket. That's it. But Arias, I don't think is a trade commodity.
Hot take. Bo Naylor comes back to Cleveland this weekend, heads over to the Reds dugout for cash considerations. That's my.
I think he gets more than that. I think he gets more because
I still don't see it.
Bailey was having a bad year and he netted, 2 solid pieces.
Right.
I know he was all world, but he was,
all world defender, and Bo Naylor is not.
But no, Bo Naylor was the top 20 catcher in baseball over the last 3 years by WAR.
If they get the comp B pick from the Reds for Bo Naylor, I'll be thrilled.
Even if it's not that, it's something more. Like he was one of the top 20 best catchers in baseball over the last 3 years. One of the 20 best by advanced metrics. That means that he would start for
the point you think it does. That more proves the point that catching sucks across the league.
It does, but it means that for 1/3 of the league, he'd be an upgrade. So having multiple years of control of a catcher who can handle behind the plate, and be close to league average. I mean, we spent the whole offseason talking about all he has to do is be close to league average, and that's a net win. And yes, he wasn't, but I think we can't let a small sample size. But he was close to league average at points last.
That's like saying you and me are going to run a 5K, and
no, it's not, because he's been close. An 80 is acceptable.
Yeah, and if you and me run a 5K and you beat me, well, guess what? It doesn't make you good at running a 5K. It just means you beat me, Jeff.
But if you bring value relative to your position, you bring value relative to your position, and he brings value relative to that position. Like there is such a dearth of. It's not as bad as the dearth at center field, but it's close. But he brings value. Like. We can't let ourselves be shifted by a small sample size of a month and a half. Like we've seen a lot of guys get hot and get cold in that time. Like
the Guardians they said enough. Patrick Bailey's available.
They've wanted Patrick Bailey for a while. They moved on because they could get an upgrade. I don't think that is as indicative with Bo being completely washed or have no value. Like guys maintain value beyond a bad month or two. Like that this team buys guys all the time.
This is not a bad month or two though, Jeff. This is who he is. Outside of 2 good Septembers.
But but you can't say that when you're saying over the last 3 years he's been the 20th best catcher in baseball
because value. He's had 2 good Septembers out of 3 years.
But that 2 good Septembers in 3 years can make you the 20th best guy. Like it takes a little more than that.
Right.
Like,
and you're not really making all you're doing is saying catching really sucks across baseball. You're not saying Bo Naylor's good. You're saying
no. I'm saying that he brings value because he's better than what 1/3 of the league has. Like it sucks or not. Like if you're better than the league average or you're right about league average, that still makes you valuable because of the limited commodity. Even if it's relative stinkiness, it's still better to what the relative available stinkiness is.
So a Honda Accord that's got a tailpipe falling off, still drives.
It's supply and demand.
It's got value. It's got value because
it's supply and demand, dude. If there is a limited supply, then all what's available gets more valuable, even if it's not as good. Things get brought up if you have to fill that position, which they do.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't see it. All right, we're going to talk 2016 reunion. It's happening this weekend. I'll be there Friday and Saturday. So if you're there, say hey, or if you don't want to say hey, that's fine too. But if you want to, I'll be around, and we'll talk about the best trophy in sports, the Ohio Cup. Well, some of us have workplace chaos, right? Like the Guardians. Things are chaotic because they have catchers in the minors they don't have enough bats for. But the deadlines are not quite here for the Guardians, but they do stack up in your office. The position you have that's sitting open and the pressure is on, you need a job. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. It's going to help you reach people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, location, and experience. So you're not just hoping you come across the 20th best candidate. You come across the best candidate that applies for the job. And then we've been talking, 27 hires have been made by companies like yours on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. And so spend less time searching, less stress, more success and results, finding the candidate you need that cuts through the chaos and checks all your boxes. And if you're a listener of Locked On Guardians, you'll get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and say you heard about Indeed on Locked On Guardians. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. All right. And as always, thanks for making us your first listen. Everybody's hanging out with us. We do appreciate that. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe, hit the bell on YouTube to get all the videos sent to your phone whenever they get posted, whether it's an episode or reaction video, and auto download on all your favorite audio platforms to keep the show in your feed, which a lot of you have been doing. I've seen a lot of people, seen a lot of tailing numbers where the day the show comes out is good, and then like 2 or 3 days later, it ticks up another couple of hundred listeners. So, we do appreciate that. All right, Jeff, we'll get to see the rest of these mailbag questions another time. We had some other questions about top 30 prospects that we'll get into, I think, next week. There's a David Fry question in here I want to see more of. We'll see David Fry quite a bit Friday because Andrew Abbott's pitching. But I want to know, and let us know in the comments or on Discord or subtext, wherever, or even on Twitter if you want, what your memories of the 2016 team are. Like, what's your favorite memories overall? It was a fun season. Like there's some like odd memories that stand out to me. Obviously, like there's the Tyler Naquin inside the park walk off, right? I was at a game with my dad against the Blue Jays where I had literally told him, "Oh, Jose isn't as good, doesn't have as much power right-handed." They were facing a lefty reliever, and he had a 2-run homer that won them the game. After I had just said Jose doesn't have as much power against left-handed pitchers. I remember the game that Rajay Davis had that like pop-up bunt against the Nationals that scored 2 runs or something. And then let's see, I was there for game 1 of the ALDS, game 2 of the ALCS, game 1 of the World Series. And man, I walked out of Progressive Field after game 4 when the Guardians were up 3-1, pretty much thinking they had it in the bag. That was my mistake.
Yeah, I have this weird thing where like I don't really remember seasons super well once they're over. Like I probably couldn't tell you anything like during the season itself. Like the season itself, it's like it's just a blur. It goes by so quickly.
I remember where I was when Carlos Carrasco broke his hand.
I was gonna say it's probably just all the injuries at the end of the year and how like there was absolutely like there was no way and no reason that this of all the teams should be the one that got the closest with, not only is it Carrasco and Salazar, but it's also Trevor Bauer cutting his hand on his drone. And, just like Ryan Merritt, who played like 3 more games after that in the big leagues, coming in and having that stellar game. And then everybody buying everything off of his wedding gift registry. But for me personally, it's like I'd never been to a playoff game. My dad was not someone who took me to games growing up. He did not like crowds, so we didn't go to things. So it's like went to my first playoff game in the opening round. I went to my first World Series game. It was game 2. I didn't get to see quite as fun of a game as you, and I spent most of the game being annoyed by the sheer amount of Cubs fans that were in the stadium. But it was, it's the experience getting to go to a championship game. I'll always remember that. And then I was telling Justin off air, I always remember watching game 7 as I'm sitting there at a local bar and watching somebody next to me get badly overserved and being like, Cleveland might win a World Series and I might watch someone die tonight. Like it was a lot of emotions. I didn't know what was going to happen. I ended up, the teacher and me ended up like having to take over and like help this gentleman out because I just didn't want the person next to me to die and no one was jumping in. So yeah, my game 7 was just a mess on multiple levels. But yeah, it's a great season. Weirdly, I think it's like, the year they had the winning streak is like the year that stood out the most to me. But
Well, they had 14 that year.
they
and then
did, but it's just
the next
breaking
year.
that athletic streak that,
Yeah.
at the time had been like such a central piece of the Moneyball movie and everything else. And they kind of made a bigger deal out of it. And then just being amazed time and time again before, they got beat by cheaters. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was that year. Yeah.
That was that year.
I find it hard to believe it's been 10 years since the 2016.
My body tells me yes, 10 years. That does feel about right. My oldest is 8. So it was, that was kind of the end of me going out all hours of the night was that season.
You were still living in Ohio at the time.
Yeah.
So
I didn't move out here until 2019.
Yeah. Until you and I got to hang out when you were back in Ohio last year. The last time you and I saw each other in person was 2016 for the AA All-Star game in Akron. So we had also gone 9 years between seeing each other in person, despite this podcast.
That was an interesting time. Overpacked with random reporters, some people not kind in the box, and Clint Frazier being a little sloppy. It was quite a time to be alive.
It sure was. There are a lot of things in 2016. I will say I do remember that I was very unhappy with trading Clint Frazier for Andrew Miller at the time. I thought for sure that trade was going to blow up in their face. Yeah. That was. I woke up and I was
happy with Lucroy and sad with that, and then
yeah.
I just thought Clint Frazier, like he was striking out less. He's walking more. Maybe he's figuring it out. This could be a fun, interesting hitter. It's like nope.
Well, and you were saying before about Gabby Arias' bat speed. Clint Frazier had some of the best bat speed I'd ever seen, and didn't amount to anything. So that's not always the end all be all.
He was also
there was a lot of other issues there.
There's a lot of things going on under the hood there that, like, I know people get annoyed with Gabby, but he is perceived as I have not heard the negative things I heard with Clint.
Yeah, on the minor league front, like I was so convinced that the Guardians or the Indians at the time, their future outfield was set between Zimmer and Frazier. Like I was like, this is great. They're finally going to have this like really fun outfield. And they're saying, I remember watching. Okay, I was in Akron watching Brantley rehab. I don't know if you were there or not, but
Brantley gave me death stares when I felt like he had no interest in answering any questions. That was the most uncomfortable interview I've ever had. Was Michael Brantley in the minors? He did not want to talk to us.
But I remember he was rehabbing, and Frazier and Zimmer were both playing, and I was like, oh my god, this could be their future outfield. This is so exciting. And then Zimmer stayed, wasn't very good. Frazier went to New York, and the Andrew Miller trade was one of the most genius things Cleveland has done in a long time. I mean, Justice Sheffield didn't pan out.
I mean, JP Fireeisen is probably the best player from that trade. And that was the thing, like Fireeisen and Heller were like these great sleeper prospects. I'd been shooting up my board all year. I was like, man, they gave up 4 of their top 15 prospects. But only one of them really turned into anything at any point.
Trade the prospects. Like Junior Caminero was not a prospect when that trade was made. He was a guy that people were paying attention to, but it wasn't like, oh, like this guy for sure is going to be a thing.
No, he was at best like late 20s, early 30s. If you were really buying on him,
he was a true lottery ticket. So even in spite of that, trade the prospects. All right. Let us know in the comments, what your standout memories were from 2016. I'd love to hear people's stories and what that meant to them, because it was a great year, honestly, at least in terms of baseball. It was one of the most fun seasons I had ever had until next year when they had the 22-game winning streak, which hot take. I will take the 22-game winning streak over a World Series, because 22-game winning streaks don't happen every year.
That's kind of how I felt about last year with the overcoming and taking the division.
15 and a half game,
And people say like it's BS, but I mean, I literally told you, I go, I mean, I'd rather win this division and take that than like make the ALCS. Like that was, to me, that's like going to stand out more than.
I'd still want. Oh, you mean like as a wild card team?
Yeah, I'd rather win the division and fall out in the first round than like be a wild card team and somehow make it to the ALCS. Like, because you sort of wing it all. Like,
you made history.
That stood out to me with that.
Yeah. All right. The Ohio Cup starts this weekend. In spite of Jeff's best wishes, we are talking about it to end the show today. We do have a couple extra minutes because of extra long breaks. So we get Andrew Abbott and Tanner Bibee on Friday. That should be fun. Should be a fun matchup. Saturday, Gavin Williams and Chris Paddock. Oh my God. If the Guardians don't win Saturday, I'm just
They
gonna
won't.
quit.
We know. Like those matchups are always poor.
Man, just Chris Paddock's been awful. The Marlins cut him, and their Marlins they're okay, but good Lord, against Gavin Williams. And Sunday is Brady Singer and Joey Cantillo. That should be a good matchup as well. Let's just hope Will Benson doesn't have another revenge series. The Reds lineup is pretty good. Their bullpen was really good early on. It's been so lately. And they're missing Chase Burns, thankfully. And Rhett Lauder is hurt. So it's a series again that I think Cleveland has a shot to take 2 out of 3, especially considering you have Bibee Williams. You should take 2 out of 3. I'm going to go. The guy who gets off to the Ohio Cup MVP start for Cleveland is going to be Jose Ramirez. I'm going to say Jose Ramirez has a great weekend.
I don't believe there is no Ohio Cup MVP. And if there is, I don't.
There is. There is no Ohio Cup. How dare you?
Nope.
You?
Nope.
You know who won? Okay.
Nope.
Ohio Cup MVP. We're not getting off the air until I look this up. Will Benson won the most outstanding player in the Ohio Cup last year.
Yeah.
Jeff, oh my God, this is crazy. Jeff, the years before that, the most outstanding player was Miles Straw. In 2022, it was Tyler Naquin. In 2021, it was Bradley Zimmer.
So you're making my point. It's guys who have no careers.
Nope. In 2018 and 2020, it was Jose Ramirez. So he has won it before. How dare you disrespect the Ohio Cup most outstanding player? Yeah. That is the most important thing that will happen in Cleveland this weekend.
Even you laughed. Even you laughed at yourself. I don't have to say anything. You couldn't keep a straight face on that one. So,
Friday's going to be fun. Cavs.
It is. I got to say, though, during your ad read, I had to laugh because you definitely take the under. Tanner's pitching, so he'll get no run support. So you definitely,
this is true. This is true. Yeah.
So Friday may not be fun if they continue for whatever reason. When Tanner is on the mound, this team is just like their bats turn into wet noodles. So hopefully we won't see that. Tanner deserves some run support, for crying out loud. But yeah, this is a weekend series. They have a chance to win. They got to compete. NL Central is tough, up and down. Reds are in last, but that doesn't really mean anything. So yeah, it should be a fun game, fun weekend. Hopefully they take advantage and can keep the good momentum moving.
Yeah, fun weekend, Progressive Field. Yeah, reunion, Roger Davis bobblehead. A lot of fun guys will be in town. Cavs will be next door. Come hang out and then come back Monday for the recap.
Thank you all for joining us, and go Guardians, go.